All right. Sweet. Let's see if we're coming up here. All right. Let's get a little sip from our coffee here. Dunkin' Donuts. These nuts. These nuts. No, Dunkin' Donuts did not, as a corporation, change its name because of any wokeism or trying to pander to the leftist communists or anything like that. It was they wanted to take donuts off the name not because it was racist, but they were just afraid that they would lose sales because they were trying to push their healthy food marketing. Want to take donuts off there? Now it's just Dunkin'. But I keep a box of I keep this Dunkin' Donuts to remember the days of the great DD, the great double D, as I often enjoy. And I like to keep a box of Aunt Jemima. I just like to keep things that were canceled or changed, like in some kind of strange leftist Mandela effect. Uncle Ben's rice. I just keep a little museum, like keep some, instead of Washington Redskins, you keep the instead of the Washington Commanders, you keep the Washington Redskins jersey. You just keep a little stuff that was changed for no reason in the 2020s because the leftists and the liberals were upset. Let's say. They thought it was racist or something. They thought it was a Caucasian whitey conspiracy against us. And yeah. So it was the white Caucasian imperial colonialists that in their racist ad campaigns. And that's why we wokeified us wokesters. We won the battle of words and images, and therefore we were victorious. And we tore down the statues of the past, and we rewrote history like George Orwell. And everything was well after that, after we changed everything, because we brought you Barack Hussein Obama's hope and change to the country. Biden inflation, out of control living costs, an economy about to hit the tanker. High energy prices through the roof, home prices unaffordable. Brought you all these great, Obama and Biden brought America all these wonderful things. The Wall Street bank bailouts, the Great Recession of 2008. 2009, Obamacare, all these wonderful things for elites in the Democrat Party, for the bicoastal elites, for the Wall Street and Washington and Silicon Valley big tech elite, for the we did our bid for the military, industrial, pharmaceutical, technological media complex. And boy, Americans are, that's why my next door neighbor is from Michigan. Yeah, she was whining the other night about the lack of opportunity in the Rust Belt and the hollowed out society that the Democrats and the liberals have brought. And the ruin and the havoc they've wrought in our great nation. And so the Clintons and Bill Gates of hell and Mark Fucker turd of Facebook meta platforms, Silicon Valley, big tech in general, in collusion with the Democrat Party, the bicoastal elites, in other words, the havoc that they've wrought on working class people over the years, stolen so much money and blood and treasure from the American people. It's ridiculous. And of course, they want more still. It wasn't enough. The Hunter Biden, the crack and the bitches and the mansions and the millions of dollars and so forth. No, it wasn't enough. Then they wanted to take away that pesky Bill of Rights and the Constitution of the United States of America, the law of the land and the rights and the voting rights and the citizens. Then they wanted to disenfranchise 78 million people from voting and having a say in future elections. Well, I don't think that's really going to stand with the American people, because some of us do remember a day when America had the Bill of Rights and constitutional freedoms. We still do on paper. But the federal government under the Biden-Harris administration and his corrupt cronies have decided to lawlessly use proxies through social media to give they start their censorship against American citizens on the social media. So the idea is that, yeah, you can get together with a whole bunch of people and talk about how we're getting fucked over by the system. But you're not allowed to say that on social media, because they're Google Alphabet Corporation and Facebook Meta platforms and Microsoft Bill Gates of hell and all these other big tech tyrannies and tyrants are stripping away the First Amendment of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights from American citizens. So the Democrat Party aren't constitutionalists. They're all about stealing money. They're all about grifting. They're all about rigging elections. They're all about lies and deceit and treachery, but they're not about fundamental freedoms for the American people. They want those freedoms for themselves, of course, but they don't want it for the general population, and so Donald John Trump will become the 47th president of the United States of America. It doesn't matter how many sham witch hunt trial indictments the partisan Dempire, the liberal global world order, throws at him, and these liberal DAs and cities and corrupt attorney generals and so forth, and even corrupt state Supreme Courts in leftist and blue states. Nikki Haley, endorsed by the Koch brothers, has a lot of money flowing in from, I guess, the military industrial complex or something. She's not going to win. She's just not. She's delusional. Vivek Ramaswamy, a Wall Street hedge fund guy, he has about $500 million net worth, married, family of 4 or 5 or something like that. No, it's not. It's not that he's not getting elected because he's not Indian. Because he's Indian. I mean, it's he's not getting elected because he just can't be trusted. That's it. That's kind of like, you just naturally don't really trust Wall Street people. You know what I mean? You had the economic recession of 2008, 2009, the bailout of Wall Street and the banks. It wasn't a bailout for the people. It wasn't a bailout for American people that were damaged in the Great Recession. It was a bailout for fat cats and banks and other such giant multinational companies. So it wasn't a bailout for the people on the street, but it was a bailout for the people on Washington and Wall Street. So a sort of get out of jail free card, get out of debt free card for paid for by the American taxpayer. So yeah, he can't be trusted. Everybody knows that. he can try to stir the pot, but everybody knows who he is. You see it on his face. He just wants to be president, so he can just do the next thing, right? He's already done all the other things, I guess. Made a lot of money, made a big family. Now he wants to be the president. And so, but that won't get you elected alone. You got Ron DeSantis, went anti-Trump, and all these characters think that they're going to betray Trump. You know, a guy who was the former president, American legend, American icon, former reality TV show star, real estate mogul in New York. So they think that they're going to betray Trump and actually come out unscathed. Really? That's their actual plan. That's their calculus. So to protect old Joe Fart, corrupt ass, plagiarizing, hiding, bribing, lying, Joseph Robinette Biden, all the corrupt Merrick Garland, Attorney General of the Department of Injustice, and all his cronies and all the liberal DAs and corrupt Democrat Biden partisan supporters in all of these leftist cities have decided to bring 4 sham bogus indictments against Donald John Trump, former and future 47th president of the United States of America. Colorado to include Trump on 2024 primary ballot as state GOP appeals to Supreme Court. Oh boy. Did they reverse? Okay. Were they forced? All right. The Colorado Secretary of State will include former President Donald Trump on the 2024 Colorado primary ballot after Republicans filed an appeal to the Supreme Court. On Wednesday, the Colorado GOP filed an appeal with the U.S. Supreme Court after the state Supreme Court's decision to remove Trump from the primary ballot. Following the appeal, Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold announced that she will include Trump on the primary ballot on the January 5th certification deadline unless the U.S. Supreme Court affirms the lower court's ruling or declines to take up the case. Donald Trump all right. According to Griswold, Donald Trump engaged in insurrection and was disqualified under the Constitution from the Colorado ballot. The source is Fox News. The Colorado Supreme Court got it right. This decision is now being appealed. She continued, I urge the U.S. Supreme Court to act quickly given the upcoming presidential primary election. Trump's inclusion on the ballot creates an unprecedented situation for the U.S. Supreme Court amid 2 dueling rulings. The controversial Colorado ruling and the Michigan Supreme Court's ruling batting down an attempt to remove Trump from the primary ballot. The Colorado Supreme Court stayed its ruling until January 4th to allow time for an appeal to its decision. The 2 states' contradicting rulings will likely spur the U.S. Supreme Court to take up the case, which will set the legal precedent for the rest of the country. The U.S. Supreme Court has a ticking political time bomb on its hands. The body will have to decide the case before Super Tuesday, March 5th. The deadline, however, comes with a few wrinkles. According to Griswold's press release, the deadline for 2024 primary ballots to be sent out to military voters is January 20th. Additionally, February 12th is the first day that the ballots will be mailed out to voters, and at the end of the month, on February 26th, the first day of primary voting takes place. It is unclear what would happen to any released ballots if the U.S. Supreme Court declines the appeal or doesn't take up the case after they are sent out. Fox News Digital has reached out to the Colorado GOP for comment. Earlier this month, the Colorado Supreme Court, in a 4-3 vote, overturned a lower court ruling that allowed Trump to appear on the ballot as a presidential candidate. The initial ruling said a president is not among the officials subject to disqualification on a ballot. On December 19th, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled Trump is ineligible to appear on the primary ballot due to the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The Colorado Supreme Court simultaneously stayed that ruling until January 4th, with that stay remaining in place in the event of an appeal. By excluding President Trump from the ballot, the Colorado Supreme Court engaged in an unprecedented disregard for the First Amendment right of political parties to select their candidates of their choice and an usurpation of the rights of the people to choose their elected officials. Attorneys from the state Republican Party wrote in a petition after December 19th ruling. Fox News Carrie Kupek and Louis Cassiano was contributed to this report. Okay, so it looks like, all the Democrats' attempts to remove Donald Trump illegally and unconstitutionally from the 20 failing. I didn't really think you could really mess with the will of 78 million Trump voters and people that actually believe in the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And I just didn't think the Supreme Court would allow partisan politics to strip Americans of the right to choose their next leader. And so I just didn't think that would fly, that they'd be able to get away with it. So on the Drudge Report, it says underestimated 2024. This guy is older than dinosaur shit. Do you really think this guy has a chance? He's just a puppet of the puppet masters. This guy can't function. Everybody knows it. Joseph Robinette Biden, Hayden Lyon Bribin Biden, and plagiarizing too. Remember, he plagiarizes old presidential speeches as well. So this guy is going to his mansion from his ill-begotten gains and going to be hanging out with this crackhead, sex addict son, and he's going to be off our hands. He gets to go on his beach vacations and go to Martha's Vineyard with Obama, and he'll be out of the hair of the American people. It's great, and he can talk about his leg hair to people if he's able to give a speech or something like that. He could walk his dog, eat ice cream in Delaware, Hoboth Beach or whatever they call that shit, and go to the Caribbean. You have a great time. He just won't have any power. He won't be running the country. He won't be in control of the United States of America and its future. And citizens of the United States of America will rejoice in a fantastic, oh my God, that 3 to 4 year period and the post-COVID is finally over. And so new challenges begin, of course. First you have to repair the damage of the Biden-Harris administration. You have to seal the border. You have to deport all these millions of people from all these illegal aliens and get them back deported to their home countries. And then once you can build a wall and seal them out, and then you know what, the country can start to heal and just repair the damage of the Biden-Harris administration and the Democrat Party in general. It's a big, tall job, but somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to clean up the border. Somebody's got to vet the asylum seekers and the refugees and the immigrants, just immigrants. I mean, they call them migrants or whatever kind of politically correct term they want to call it now. It's still the same shit to me. It doesn't matter what they call it. So like the Democrats like to call the homeless people the unhoused. And it's fucking homeless people, right? So you can call retarded people mentally challenged. It doesn't change the fact they're still retarded. So it's you can try to alter the language all you want to make it nicer and more politically correct and more woke and don't hurt people's feelings and all this bullshit that's been going on over the last, a long time, but it's just gotten worse and worse and worse over that time. So the people that are running against Trump, Nikki Haley, they might have deep pockets. Vivek Ramaswamy, I think DeSantis is in trouble. He might actually have to drop out first. And I think Trump is going to dominate the primaries. And I think he's going to kick fucking Joe Biden's lying, hiding, bribing, plagiarizing ass and his rigging ass, his corrupt, Alzheimer's, older than dinosaur shit ass. Send him into his proper retirement. And that's good, like Nancy Pelosi. So these people, these career politicians that have lied and cheated and stolen from the American people for so long, for decades, will finally be retired, and they won't have control and power in the U.S. government, any of the branches of U.S. government, the executive, judicial, the executive and legislative. And they won't be able to influence the judicial either by being somebody who appoints the justices in the executive. So Trump MAGA 2024, Donald pumped, the 47th president. I think the Democrats are in for a major ass whooping in 2024. My God, they deserve it. 3 and 4 years of economic and social and cultural misery that they brought. And also they made America weaker, and they started 2 fucking wars, all right, by letting Vladimir Putin of the Russian Federation invade the Ukraine. And then they allowed for the Middle Eastern conflict to get the fuck out of control with the October 7th attacks and the Israeli-Palestinian war. And now they got, a third one cooking in Guyana and Venezuela? They got a 4th one maybe cooking with the Chinese Communist Party invasion of Taiwan. Look how weak this fucking party is. Look how weak. Look how fucking pathetic this president is. It's a laugh. It's an embarrassment to the United States of America, and its citizens deserve better than this. And everybody that lives in America, whether they want to admit it or not, whether they're Democrats, liberals, communists, leftists, or whatever, you got to admit this president, this party is a fucking failure. Or otherwise, I wouldn't be living in Texas, and most of my neighbors be from New York and Michigan and Illinois and fucking California if the liberal global world orders bi-coastal elite policies were so fucking great. Well, then people would still be staying in their states because everything was so dandy in those Biden states. So Joe Biden, baby, bye Biden. Oh man, couldn't happen any sooner. And I'll be the same age as Ron DeSantis after Trump's term, his second term, his glorious term. If you're only a 1-term president, you don't get a presidential library. But if you serve 2 terms, you get your Donald John Trump MAGA library, and it's going to be gorgeous. And I'll go visit it myself. You know what? And then Ron DeSantis is my age. So then I'll get to elect Ron DeSantis in 2028. Oh, man, it'll be fantastic. Just celebrating the victory of the American people and the U.S. Constitution and making America stronger and great again. And for our adversaries to quake in their boots in fear, to feel their fear of making an aggressive move against the United States. It's going to feel fantastic to have a border again. And so I can, be in Texas or a southern border state and say, oh, good. Well, those kids at the playground are going to be safe because the child molester from Guatemala isn't going to come in there and do his thing, or gangbangers or terrorists. It's going to just feel fantastic, to feel like, America is secure. It's got the 2 oceans on either side. Got to be worried about the Canadian border, of course, but the southern border definitely. But once that's contained, then everybody can feel like a lot safer. Maybe with the, added manufacturing jobs, the Rust Belt, and America can recover and start making its own stuff again. Just to prepare for war with the Chinese Communist Party, which is probably coming right around the corner. The big war, the big one, World War III. So, America has to be prepared in a manufacturing sense to have its own medicine, its own fuel, its own energy, its own supplies, et cetera, et cetera. So America has to be independent, self-sufficient to a maximum extent if it thinks it will be able to challenge its geopolitical adversaries in the 21st century. So, well, God bless and best of success. 4 more in 2024. Donald John Trump, 47th president. All others are delusional, corrupt, planning to rig the next election. They're scheming, but all that stuff, all that illegal sham indictments and witch hunts and all this shit, it's not working out for them because the Supreme Court is going to strike that illegal, unconstitutional shit down. And besides that, the American people are not gonna go along with having a legitimate former president being stripped from his right to be on the ballots of all 50 states. So then you got millions of people going to rebel against the system too. So they got a big problem on their hands because they can't get away with this criminal rigging activity and election, illegal election and unconstitutional interference with what is supposed to be a democracy. Am I right? So God bless Trump and may his victories continue because we'll be there. That's 78 million people plus. And they might have moved from different states because the economic ruin that Joe Biden and the Democrats have brought upon the American people But well, they haven't left the country as far as I'm concerned, even though Joe Biden and his cronies have tried, and Mayorkas and Anthony Blinken have tried to bring, the 8 million Latin Americans or foreigners, foreign nationals into our nation so they could, get their green card and vote, try to flip red states or something like that. So the Democrats could rule indefinitely in a Democrat dictatorship for the rest of the decade. But American citizens aren't going to play that game, and we will resist and we will fight back. And so do your best, because we're going to be voting in about less than a year's time. And Americans will not tolerate having their constitutional and democratic rights stripped away by any political party, let alone the Democrats and the corrupt, inept, and ruinous Joe Biden-Harris administration. So, peace.